Here we go.
Alright, welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to be talking about the new information they've released about Phase 2. All the different things they're talking about, the raid, new Rune abilities, the new PvP event, all that. So if you like this kind of content, be sure to leave me a like, comment, subscribe, all that fun jazz. We're just going to jump into it. So I'm going to cut a few corners while we're doing this, but before we get into it, I am going to gripe a little bit about Blizzard releasing information like this, because they are absolutely horrible. This information's really not on their forums right now. It's on their news channel, like their news part of their website. But you never know where new information is going to be released. Sometimes they put it on Twitter, sometimes it's on this website, sometimes it's on their forums, and it's easy to miss out on where it's going to be. So yeah, that gripe, I'm done with that gripe. We'll just go ahead with this. So the new raid is going to be No Merrigan. We've known that for a while. It's going to be a 10-man. It's going to be at level 40. And now we know that there will be an extra boss they've added in. It won't just be the same 5 bosses that were already in the dungeon. They're adding a new one that we know nothing about yet. So all the old bosses are getting updates. So Grubus, it says new radiation vents may just come into play in this encounter. I don't know what that means just yet. The crowd pummeler has been moved to a new part of the dungeon. It'll be on a raised platform before a crowd. I have no idea why. We'll have to see when it comes out. Mechgineer Thermoplug now has mechanical suits as a part of his arsenal, so that could be fun. I don't know. They've also released some new loot. Here's some of it on the screen. There are a couple of things that I found a little bit interesting that I want to talk about. The crowd pummeler is not going to have the charges, so druids are going to love this thing. Well, probably not just druids. I mean, paladins and shamans can use it as well, but the big thing is the on use that druids can use, and it affects their cat form and bear form, so it's going to be great for druids. The other one that I was really interested in seeing, and I don't know how much of an effect it's going to be, but for human rogues, your racial passive already is to have +5 weapon skill with swords and maces. So yeah, you're basically attacking as if you're a level above what you actually are when your weapon skills are maxed with those weapons. So here's this item here, the gloves that they've linked. Bonk Mastros, handguards, increased fist weapons +5 and maces +5. So if you're a human rogue, you're going to be able to get +10 to maces. And here's a one-handed mace that they're releasing with this. And I'm really just a little curious if mace specialization rogue is going to be pretty good in the next phase because of that. We'll have to wait and see, but I think that may be a fun interaction that we get out of this gear. So here's a few different items. The Trog Transfigurator. You're going to be able to turn yourself into a Trog, which is kind of fun. And then Aragriar's Whimsical World Warper, which looks like it's just going to randomly teleport you somewhere in the world. It doesn't say I don't know. We'll see. I don't know what to say about that radiant ray reflectors. Then we get to look at some of the set bonuses for the different types of gear. Now, for some reason, they've only put plate, cloth, and mail. There's no leather set that we can look at just yet. The plate set may well be more for tanking. It's hard to tell. You've got the two-piece set bonus of increased defense +7. But the piece they're showing is plate legs, and it looks more like a DPS piece. So, you know, I don't know what I can say about that. Like, I just don't know enough about it yet. Until we see the other set pieces, I'm not real sure what it's going to end up looking like. I was, as a Warlock tank player, I was very happy to see on the cloth set piece that they've linked here, the chest piece they've got has increased armor on it. So Warlock tanks definitely going to want the set. So that looks pretty good. And as well, on the two-piece set bonus is plus 100 armor. So that's always good to see. Then we've got a mail set piece here, which is going to be for your hunters and shamans, and the set bonuses look really good for both those classes, honestly. But then they've also linked these power depleted boots. It looks like it'll be a quest item to where you'll be able to get another piece of gear. I don't know. Dungeon updates. They're adding skill books to the 5-man dungeons in phase 2 with enhancements like quality of life improvements for at least 3 classes. We don't know if there'll be one for every class or not, but enhanced blessings for Paladin. You're not going to have to deal with that 5-minute blessing timer. I mean, it's horrible. That's basically having to rebuff before and after every single boss fight in phase 1 at least, and like phase 2 as well. Totemic projection for shamans. You're going to be able to move your totems instead of having to resummon new totems, which is great because, you know, that is a horrible aspect of shaman gameplay, if we're being honest. Manual of redirect for rogue. You're going to be able to transfer your combo points from one target to another. I mean, sure, okay. I don't know how great that is. We'll have to, like, situationally, it's good, I guess, but I don't really feel the need for this one all that much. But alright, so let's jump into the runes. I'm going to go through all of them. I will say that we are getting new rune slots. So if you read this one, it says engrave your boots, and this one says engrave your belt. So, yeah, we're going to have 2 new rune slots at least. But we'll go through them all. Druid, Starfire increases critical strike chance of your next 2 Wraths by 30%, and Wrath increases the critical strike chance of your next Starfire by 30%. Both effects stacking up to 4 charges. Both spells also gain 70% chance at all times to not lose casting time when you take damage. So, Boomkins, Balanced Dredge, y'all are going to love this one. Sounds good. I'm really hoping to see more Balanced Druids in phase 2. Like, right now, it just seems like all you see is Feral Druids for the most part. King of the Jungle. Tiger's Fury now increases all physical damage you deal by 15% instead of by a flat value, and instantly grants you 60 energy. I mean, Yeah, I felt like feral druids were okay. I don't know that they needed something this good, but you know, so from the looks of it, every class is going to be just insanely broken. I really hope they're taking into account how broken classes are going to be with 5 rune slots instead of 3, but we'll just have to wait and see. I'm a little worried about it. Paladin runes, Sheath of Light. Dealing damage with your melee weapon increases your spell power by an amount equal to 30% of your attack power for 1 minute. In addition, your critical healing spells heal the target for 60% of the healed amount over 12 seconds. That's going to be a belt rune. And then your boot rune that we get to take a look at is guarded by the light. Each time you hit a target with your melee weapon, you gain 5% of your maximum mana per 3 seconds for 15 seconds. So, yeah, that's going to be interesting. But the amount healed by your Flash of Light, Holy Light, and Holy Shock spells is reduced by 50% during this mana regeneration. I mean, this is Divine Plea. I don't know why they renamed it, but yeah, I don't know. Also, yeah, the way they're explaining this isn't really all that great. I can't tell if when you hit a target with your melee weapon, if you're going to get 15 seconds of mana regeneration, or if you're just going to get 5% of your mana over 3 seconds every time that you hit with your melee weapon. And you can't tell if there's a cooldown or anything like that, what it's going to cost to cast this. I I have questions on this one. We'll just have to wait to see how that works out. That's we're gonna have to look at that when it actually comes out, though. I definitely have questions on that one. Hunter runes, you've got to give it to them. They failed spectacularly with the melee hunter build on phase one. So here they are giving it another go. This is a belt rune, Raptor Strike cooldown reduced to 3 seconds and is now instant. Mongoose Bite cooldown removed, and Raptor Strike has a 30% chance on each attack not to trigger its cooldown. So, it's saying Raptor Strike is now instant. I think what that means is that instead of Raptor Strike being your next melee swing, it's going to be an attack of its own. You know, so that's probably a good thing. But is this enough to make people want to play a melee hunter? I don't know. I don't know about that. Um, it does help, but I mean, unless they do something with the lone wolf rune, um, you know, melee specialist isn't melee hunter is not going to be good unless they increase the damage on the lone wolf rune. 15% more damage if you don't have a pet. I mean, that's just pure insanity, really. Uh, you're right now, hunter pets are doing 50% or more of the average hunter's damage, right, with the beast mastery run. So why would you trade 50% of your damage for plus 15%? It just, you know, I don't get it, but they're still trying for that. And the other one, Trap Launcher. Your traps can now be placed at any location within 40 yards and can be placed while you're in combat. Additionally, your fire-based and frost-based traps now have separate shared cooldowns. Um, So this is good. You're going to be able to use your traps in combat to add a little DPS on raid boss fights. Sure, that's great. Is this going to be enough of a buff to make up for all the nerfs that the hunters have already had in phase 1? When honestly, hunters are always overpowered early on in classic, and towards level 60 is when they really fall off. I think phase 2 they're still going to be fairly good, but after phase 2 they're really going to start feeling, you know, a lot less overpowered. So after all the nerfs they've gone through, I really feel like they needed something a little more than this. Hopefully there will be other runes that are released that will help make up for the nerfs, because the hunters are about to get passed by a lot of people in phase 2. Warriors and rogues that were already ahead of them are just going to shoot ahead, just light years better than the hunters. But I think that other classes are going to surpass the hunter pretty easily in phase 2 as well. We'll see if I'm right about that, but I mean, this kind of worries me, because I do have a hunter that I like to play. Honestly, in Classic, the hunter was one of my favorite classes to play. Now, granted, anybody can play a hunter, but in Classic, being able to play a hunter well was not something that a lot of people could do, and it was kind of a mark of pride for me personally. But especially things like this, you're going to make their crowd control to where you can place it in combat. That kind of removes that, but it looks like people are going to be shying away from hunters pretty soon, in my opinion. Warrior runes. I have some issues with the warrior runes. Well, for one thing, rallying cry. Granting all party and raid members within 40 yards 15% increased maximum health for 10 seconds. So this is percentage based, and I don't think it needs to be a percentage based ability, right? I really don't think that needs to be a percentage base. I think they need to add a set amount that it's going to add health wise, because I mean, you know that this is going to have a ridiculous impact on warlock and hunter pets, not to mention feral druid like bear tanks. I mean, it's, yeah, we'll see. I think that one needs to be reworked a little bit before they put it in the game, though. And Blood Surge, Heroic Strike, Bloodthirst, and Whirlwind have a 30% chance to make your next slam within 15 seconds, instant, and cost no rage. Oh, buddy. Also, the Rallying Cry was for your boots, Blood Surge is for your belt. So, yeah, I've been saying this the whole time through phase 1. Warrior runes do not need to be this good. The class was doing really well before in Classic. I mean, they were the best tanks. They were the best DPS as well. And they really don't need the help. And you adding stuff like this, I mean, that sounds like it's going to be really good and be a really significant damage boost. I mean, Warriors, I don't even want to think about how overpowered warriors are going to be in this next phase when I'm looking at runes like this. I mean, we're talking about heroic strike being their only real attack. You know, rend, heroic strike, and if they happen to dodge your attack, I guess overpower. But you know, warriors were already topping the DPS charts without most of their good abilities. So as warriors are getting into the 30s and picking up their whirlwind axe and whirlwind the ability and, you know, berserker stance and intercept, I mean, this is going to snowball in a big way. I cannot see anyone coming close to the warrior for DPS in phase 2 right now. I don't know. We'll see how it goes, but I mean, I've got a little bit of misgivings coming up about the warriors. Rogue runes, shuriken toss. This is gonna be for your belt. Throw a shuriken at your enemy, dealing damage equal to 25% of your attack power, and also strike up to 4 additional nearby targets. Awards 1 combo point. I mean, this could be okay for DPS, but for me, this screams rogue tank at me, like, which I don't think rogue tanks are all that great right now in phase 1. But I don't think they're going to get really all that much better in phase 2, because all of their damage mitigation that they're going to get from combat spec is they've already got it in phase 1, and they still feel just a little squishy, you know. This will alleviate one of the biggest problems I had with the rogue tank in phase 1, which is they had no AoE, none. So that's going to help. I mean, that's going to help the people that really want to play a rogue tank. I've tried rogue tanking. I really wasn't that impressed with it. The threat seemed pretty decent, but the damage mitigation just didn't feel like it was enough that you were getting from the runes. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes in phase 2 for the rogue tanks. Master of Subtlety is the other one for the boots. Attacks made while stealth and for 6 seconds after breaking stealth cause an additional 10% damage. I see this more as a questing, leveling, and PvP rune than anything you're going to use in a raid. But, yeah. Still better than nothing, right? Slightly. Priest runes, Mind Spike. For your belt, it's going to blast the target for however much damage, increases the critical strike chance of your next Mind Blast on the target by 30%, stacking up to 3 times. So Shadow Priests are going to be a lot better in phase 2, because you're getting your shadow form, all that stuff later down in the talent tree that you didn't have access to in phase 1. It's actually going to be really good, I think, in phase 2. So this is, I'm sure a lot of people that are wanting to play Shadow Priest are really happy to see this. The boot rune for the priest is Pain Suppression. Everybody knows this one already. Reduces your damage taken by 40%. You can put it on your tank, you know. That's going to be pretty strong for Discipline Priest for PvP and PvE. So I'm not even going to go into that one. Warlock runes. This is going to be, you know, a fairly interesting one. Invocation, not so much. Refreshing, Corruption, Immolate, Curse of Agony, or Siphon Life when it has less than 6 seconds duration remaining will cause you to deal instant damage to the target equal to 1 period of that spell's periodic damage. So, I mean, really, that's bordering on useless. If there's nothing else to put in that slot, I'll probably use it. But I mean, other than that, this doesn't sound all that great to me. It's not going to be much of a DPS increase at all. So, Dance of the Wicked. This is one I was looking forward to. It's a Warlock tank rune. I'm not sure how good this one's going to be. I'm not sure if I'm going to use it or how much I'll use it. But you and your demon pet gain dodge chance equal to your spell critical strike chance each time you deal a critical strike to an enemy. And also, both regain 2% of maximum mana. So the mana regen is really nice because that'll keep you from having to life tap as much in the middle of a boss fight. So that's cool. That's one of the problems I have with the Warlock tank is having to life tap and basically helping the boss kill me while I'm tanking. But that should help that problem a little bit. Now, the other parts of this is what I want to talk about. You and your demon pet gain dodge chance equal to your spell critical strike chance each time you deal a critical strike to an enemy. So there's no duration shown on this, and there's no indication of whether this can stack. So if this can stack, I mean, yeah, it could get ridiculous pretty quick. So I don't know. This sounds good. I'll probably use it for tanking, but I still have a few questions on this one that I guess I'll just have to wait a week to find out. Alright, now we come to Mage Runes. And this one's pretty exciting to me. At least one of them. So one of the bigger problems I've had with Mage Healing in particular is that you've got Arcane Blast on your gloves. Of course, you're not gonna lose that one. But then for your pants, you'd have to choose between, Living Flame and Mass Regen, and your chest, you pretty much always take the Regeneration rune. But this being on the belt with Missile Barrage, I mean, this is really exciting. I don't know if this is going to consume the Arcane Blast stacks. I think it will, but I don't know. So we'll have to make sure that's a thing. However, it gives your Arcane Blast a 40% chance and your Fireball and Frostbolt spells a 20% chance to reduce the channel duration of your next Arcane Missile spell by 50%. Reduce the mana cost by 100%. And missiles will fire every 0.5 seconds. This is going to be a huge quality of life improvement for arcane mages, because one of the big problems that you have with arcane mages is you build up your stacks on your arcane blast and then you've got a big chunk of mana going, not a big chunk, but it's more expensive than your 4th Arcane Blast to cast your Arcane Missiles, or just as expensive. It's pretty close. I don't remember exactly which one. Either way, you've got that 4th cast of Arcane Blast and then Arcane Missiles, and that hits you with a pretty good chunk of mana missing within 2 casts right there. This is going to alleviate that pretty good, especially if it consumes the Arcane Blast stacks and it doesn't cost you any mana. That's going to be absolutely amazing for arcane mages and mage healing, just in general. Now the other one, I'm really not sure about this other one. It's a boot rune, and it fuses arcane fire and frost magic to freeze chronomantic energy into a stored state for later use. You can hold this energy for up to 15 seconds before it combusts and expires. When unleashed, heals a friendly target for 665 to 998. This spell is considered arcane, fire, and frost for interactions with other spells, talents, and effects. So, I mean, I don't know. That's a significant heal, though. 665 to 998. That's... I'm assuming this is going to be at level 40, like the amount of healing. Probably. But that's still going to be a pretty significant heal. But I'm not seeing a mana cost for using this. I don't know. I'm reserving judgment on that particular rune. I think it will be interesting, but you know, we'll have to revisit that one. All right, shaman runes. I'm just, yeah. So shamans are already like pretty overpowered in PvP, in my opinion. Now they're giving the shamans Maelstrom Weapon, which is a belt rune. Most people already know what Maelstrom Weapon is, but I'll read it. When you deal damage with a melee attack, you have a chance to reduce the cast time of your next lightning bolt, chain lightning, lesser healing wave, chain heal, or lava burst by 20%, and it stacks up to 5 times. So you get an instant cast, whatever you want. I mean, that's just an instant cast of whatever the hell you want. I mean, that's going... I feel like this is going to have a ridiculous impact in PvP. It kind of worries me, honestly. So that's going to be a belt rune too. So that's... I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how bad it is, but I think that may... I think shamans may be really happy to see that. Okay, well, moving on. Spirit of the Alpha. This is going to be a boot rune. And this one I have questions about. Because if you listen to the wording of this, just listen. Infuses the target with the spirit of an alpha wolf, increasing all threat generated by the target by 45% for 30 minutes. Limit 1 target. The way they're saying that makes me think that you can put this buff on a different party member. You don't have to put it on yourself as a shaman. So, if that's true, I mean, you could basically have anybody tank at this point. Maybe that's not what it is, but honestly, shaman tanks are right up there with paladin tanks as far as being the easiest to tank with and having some of the best threat generation right now in phase 1. So I don't really feel like this rune was needed for shaman tanks. I feel like this is being put in as a buff that they can put on another player, but we'll have to wait and see. But I mean, that has some interesting, yeah. We'll see. And then also for the shamans, a lot of people seem to be asking for this one, is the two-handed mastery. Although this one is going to be a chest slot rune. So it'll replace one of the runes you already have. Each time you strike an enemy with a two-handed weapon, you gain 30% attack speed with two-handed weapons for 10 seconds. So, yeah, I mean, that one's pretty straightforward. I really don't have much to say about that one. Yeah, we'll just let that one go. Now, on to the new PvP event. Beware the Blood Moon. So, yeah. I have some definite issues with this. At least with this one, they seem to be trying to avoid what they did with the Ashenvale PvP event, which was to try and change it more to a timer, but then not update the percentages. Like, we still got the percentages at the top instead of a timer because, you know, they're idiots and whatever. I have quite a few issues with this, but we'll go through it and then we'll talk about my issues with it. So, win every 3 hours and the duration is 30 minutes in Stranglethorn Vale. During this event, killing players will allow you to earn currency, which can be traded for various rewards. While you can still group up with your allies for the event, the Blood Moon is a harsh mistress and will punish those in raid groups. I don't know how it's going to punish people in raid groups, but I think the gist of this is they're trying to push people into 5-man groups for this PvP event. Is that going to work? Doubtful, but I don't know. It might. They might be smart about it and actually make it work. But then down here below it says, for those who would rather live in peace and harmony with the land, you can opt out of the event by speaking with the Zandalari emissary. You will not be able to earn any rewards from the event if you opt out, and General Realm PvP rules will still apply. Unlike in the Ashenvale PvP event, there will not be any PvP objectives in Stranglethorn Vale's event. You will also need to keep a sharp eye out for the Chosen of the Blood Loa, who is more than a force to be reckoned with and will kill all in their path. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I think about this. The Chosen of the Blood Loa sounds like a NPC that's gonna be roaming around. I'm not sure if you'll be surely you'll be able to fight it as a raid group and bring it down, and there's probably some rewards for that. Is that going to be as good as being in a 5-man group fighting other players? I don't know. But, okay, let's talk about some of the issues I have with this. Now, if you're on a PvP server, I don't see too big of an issue with this, because you're already going to be fighting people in Stranglethorn Vale. This place was always a bloodbath. They didn't have to add this to get a lot of PvP in Stranglethorn Vale on PvP servers. Honestly, this is just going to be a reward for doing what people would already be doing, you know. So, however, on a PvE server where the factions are, where they are not even trying to force balance the factions, particularly I play on Wild Growth some, where the alliance is probably like 70-80% of the server. So my point is, for this particular event, what is the Horde's incentive to join into this event on a PvE server when you can opt out of it? And I mean, they may try to join it a few times, at the start of phase 2, but I mean, just the sheer number of alliance players to horde on that server is going to make it to where most horde players don't even want to play this event. So I, I I'm I'm saying that they need to add something into this event that makes it more worthwhile for horde players to join in. Otherwise, not there won't be any horde players doing this. Um, it's kind of hard to talk people into going into a fight where they're outnumbered 3-1, 4-1 every time they go into it, and it's a lot harder to get kills and get the currency they're talking about when you're outnumbered to that extent. Unless they're going to add some kind of balancing factor for horde players in this, I mean, I can't see any reason why horde players would want to do this. You'd miss out on the gear, but I mean, think of the amount of frustration you would deal with trying to go into this event as a horde player outnumbered that bad. I just can't see it being worth it. If you want to spend your currency on new rewards, there's a merchant just outside the Gurubashi arena. Players will be able to earn new class-specific item rewards. So this one says it's for a mage, increasing damage done by fire spells and effects by up to 16. That's a ring. This is a mace, a one-handed mace for warriors. I mean, strength and agility. I mean, it's fine. There's 2 new mounts. They are faction agnostic mounts, so you'll be able to get both of them. You get it by participating in the event. Here's the part that was somewhat interesting to me. There are also new quests which will help you earn Arathi base and reputation, which is great. You know, that's why people were doing the Warsong, the Ashenvale PvP event it was a great way to farm Warsong Gulch reputation. But I mean, yeah, still, I don't think that's enough incentive for horde players to step into this. They're gonna have to find some way to make it somewhat fair for horde players, or there just won't be any horde players doing this event on a PvE server. Yeah, I have a few concerns with that. Adjustments are coming to matchmaking because, yeah, solo players hate getting stuck up against pre-made groups, which is, you know, if you're queuing solo for a battleground right now, that's all you'll see is pre-made groups. So, you know, that's good of them to address that a whole phase late, but whatever. They're implementing 2 changes. Players in groups of 5 or fewer, you will have a higher chance to match against groups of 5 or fewer. Likewise, if you're in a group of 6 or more, you'll have a higher chance to match with groups with 6 or more. Yeah. Is this going to be effective? I doubt it, but we'll see. That's all with that. Ashenvale updates will be moving to a 3-hour timer as well with Phase 2. The weekly quest world buff will not apply to players after level 39. So I just hope they don't put the Ashenvale and the Stranglethorn Vale battles on the same timer to where they're happening at the same time, but this is Blizzard, so anything's possible. They've got some profession updates. I'll pause here for a second so you can pause it and look at this for yourself if you want to. I'm not going to go through this. This video is already taking a ridiculous amount of time to get through. Then here you can pause for alchemists and enchanters. There's a couple of recipes there. And then to the big drama of the day, no more GDKP runs. They're experimenting with a new policy which will no longer allow GDKP runs in Season of Discovery. I don't do GDKP runs in the first place, so this affects me absolutely 0%. I mean, the way I look at it is if I'm going to join a raid and be fighting a boss and help earn the loot that drops, I sure as hell don't want to help earn the loot that drops and then turn around and have to buy it as well. You know, that I've never saw the point in GDKP runs. I have no sympathy for the people that are crying over this. I don't know how they're going to enforce this, but no, this doesn't hurt my feelings at all. I mean, whoever came up with GDKP runs and got people to agree to pay for the loot that they got helped get to drop is just a mastermind genius. I don't know how they did it, but yeah. That's all I'm going to say about the GDKP runs. I just don't care about it. If that affects y'all, sorry, but I really don't care. I didn't like GDKP to begin with, so either way, that's all we've got. I mean, God, it took forever to get through all that. There's a lot coming in Phase 2. We've got just about a week until it releases, and I mean, I honestly, out of the information they released, has just sparked so many more questions for me. Every piece of information they released needed more clarification, in my opinion, but you know, maybe they wanted it that way, you know, just to tease people and get them more interested in it. But be sure to leave me a like, comment, subscribe. Let me know how you're feeling about all of the changes coming and your thoughts on the matter, and I'll see you in the next one.